The tiny webcam light should have gone dark the moment the meeting ended. Instead, it stayed on. What happened over the next 60 seconds shattered a decade of friendship, uncovered a secret buried beneath countless smiles, and forced one man to realize that the person he'd been searching for his entire life had been standing beside him all along. Sometimes the greatest heartbreak isn't losing someone you love. It's discovering they loved you for years while you were too blind to notice. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel. Every act of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind us love can still change lives. Gavin Mercer had always believed that timing mattered more than feelings. He was 33, worked as an architectural designer in Portland, and had built a life around careful planning. Buildings made sense because every beam had a purpose, every foundation followed rules, and every problem had a solution. Human hearts, however, refused to obey blueprints. For nearly 11 years, the most constant person in Gavin's life had been his best friend, Eliza Rowan. They met during their first internship at a small design firm when both accidentally showed up an hour early on the same Monday morning. While everyone else hurried through careers and relationships, they quietly became each other's safest place. They celebrated promotions together, survived layoffs together, encouraged each other after failed romances, and somehow never missed each other's birthdays. Friends often joked that they acted like an old married couple. Gavin always laughed it off. He insisted they were simply unusually compatible friends. Eliza would smile, nod politely, and change the subject before anyone noticed the sadness that briefly crossed her face. Life continued like that because it felt comfortable. Gavin dated different women over the years, hoping each relationship would become something permanent, but every one ended for nearly the same reason. Someone always told him he seemed emotionally unavailable, as though part of his heart belonged somewhere else. He never understood what they meant. One bright spring afternoon, Gavin joined a virtual planning meeting from his apartment while Eliza connected from her sunny home office across town. They spent 2 hours reviewing project sketches with contractors and clients. Everything appeared perfectly ordinary. The meeting ended. One by one, everyone disconnected. Gavin reached for his coffee before closing his laptop, but an email notification distracted him. When he looked back at the screen, Eliza's camera was still connected. She didn't realize it. She leaned back in her chair, removed her glasses, and looked toward the window where sunlight poured across her desk. Then she whispered words she had apparently repeated to herself countless times. "Why can't you see I've loved you all along?" She smiled through tears before quietly shaking her head. "I guess some people never will." Gavin froze. His hand refused to move toward the keyboard. He wasn't spying. He wasn't intentionally watching. He simply couldn't process what he had heard. Within seconds she noticed the glowing camera indicator. Her expression collapsed. The call disconnected immediately. Silence filled Gavin's apartment. His heartbeat echoed louder than any sound outside. Everything suddenly rearranged itself inside his memory. The countless dinners she insisted were just catching up. The handmade birthday gifts she always claimed were no trouble. The way she celebrated his successes more enthusiastically than her own. The concern in her eyes whenever another relationship left him disappointed. The warmth he had mistaken for simple loyalty. For the first time in 11 years, Gavin wondered whether everyone else had seen something he had completely missed. He barely slept that afternoon, not because of exhaustion, but because his entire understanding of their friendship had shifted. The next morning, still beneath clear daylight skies, he drove toward the botanical gardens where Eliza often spent weekends sketching flowers for inspiration. He found her sitting alone beneath a flowering cherry tree with a notebook resting across her knees. She noticed him immediately. Instead of smiling as usual, she quietly closed the notebook. Her eyes carried embarrassment, fear, and acceptance all at once. She looked like someone expecting goodbye. Gavin sat several feet away, respecting the space she clearly needed. Neither spoke for nearly a minute. Birds sang overhead while children laughed somewhere across the gardens. Finally, Gavin admitted something that surprised even himself. He confessed that he hadn't intentionally stayed connected, but that he had heard everything. He apologized for the accidental invasion of her privacy. More importantly, he apologized for something much larger. He apologized for never paying attention. Eliza lowered her eyes. She admitted she had loved him for years but never wanted to destroy the friendship they already had. She had watched relationships come and go because she believed his happiness mattered more than her own feelings. She never expected anything in return. She simply hoped that someday the truth would stop hurting. When she realized her webcam had remained on, she felt humiliated. She had already decided to slowly distance herself. Not because she blamed him. Because remaining close had become too painful. Gavin listened without interrupting. Every sentence felt like another missing piece sliding into place. He realized that while he had searched everywhere for someone who understood him, accepted his flaws, laughed at his terrible jokes, encouraged his impossible dreams, and never stopped believing in him, he had overlooked the woman who had quietly done all those things every single day. Yet he also understood something equally important. Love born from guilt would only create future pain. He couldn't answer her feelings simply because they existed. He needed honesty. Over the following weeks, they agreed to give each other space while remaining truthful. For the first time since meeting, they stopped speaking every day. The silence surprised both of them. Gavin discovered how empty ordinary mornings felt without sharing coffee photos with Eliza. He noticed every interesting article he wanted to send her. Every funny mistake. Every accomplishment. Every difficult afternoon. She had become woven into nearly every ordinary moment of his life. Meanwhile, Eliza threw herself into volunteer work restoring a neglected community library. She convinced herself that moving forward meant accepting disappointment with grace. Some days were easier. Others weren't. One afternoon the library hosted a neighborhood fundraising event. Families painted murals together. Children planted flowers outside. Local musicians performed cheerful acoustic music beneath the afternoon sunshine. Gavin arrived unexpectedly carrying boxes of donated books. Eliza assumed he had come only to support the fundraiser. Instead, he quietly spent 6 straight hours helping repaint shelves, carrying furniture, serving drinks, and laughing with volunteers. Watching him interact with everyone reminded her why she had fallen in love years earlier. Not because he was perfect. Because he consistently chose kindness when nobody expected recognition. As the event ended, Gavin asked if they could walk through the nearby riverside park. The daylight reflected across gentle water while spring leaves danced in the breeze. He admitted something that had taken weeks to understand. The silence between them hadn't created distance. It had revealed absence. He hadn't simply missed his best friend. He had missed the person who made ordinary life feel meaningful. He confessed that for years he kept chasing dramatic romance because he believed love was supposed to arrive like fireworks. Instead, real love had arrived quietly through shared breakfasts, hospital visits after broken bones, encouragement after failures, patient listening, and unwavering loyalty. He simply hadn't recognized it. Eliza didn't immediately celebrate. She asked the question she feared most. Was he choosing her because he finally loved her, or because he felt sorry for her? The question lingered between them. Gavin answered with complete honesty. He admitted he couldn't rewrite the past. He couldn't pretend he had recognized his feelings years earlier. But he knew one undeniable truth. The happiest memories of his adult life all included her. The future he suddenly feared losing also included her. For the first time, he stopped imagining love as excitement and started imagining peace. And every peaceful future his heart created somehow placed Eliza beside him. Tears filled her eyes. Not because every wound instantly disappeared. Because honesty finally replaced uncertainty. They agreed not to rush. No dramatic declarations. No pretending everything had magically become perfect. Instead, they started where they had always been strongest. Friendship. Except this time neither hid the truth. Months passed beneath bright summer afternoons. They explored farmers' markets. Visited art festivals. Took weekend hiking trips. Supported each other's careers. Learned awkwardly how friendship transformed into romance without losing its foundation. There were moments of uncertainty. Old habits lingered. Sometimes Gavin worried he had waited too long. Sometimes Eliza feared waking up from a dream. But each difficult conversation strengthened trust rather than weakening it. One afternoon they returned to the same botanical garden where everything had nearly ended. The cherry tree still stretched graceful branches above the path. Visitors wandered peacefully among blooming flowers. Gavin carried a small wooden frame. Inside it rested a printed screenshot from years earlier. Not the accidental webcam moment. An old photograph from their very first internship orientation. Two nervous young professionals holding coffee cups while laughing at something neither could now remember. On the back he had written a simple sentence. The best things in my life didn't arrive suddenly. They quietly stayed until I finally opened my eyes. Eliza cried openly. Not because of the frame. Because after years of silent hope, she no longer needed to hide her heart. She embraced him while families walked past smiling, proving that genuine love often inspires strangers as much as those living it. Before we reach the end of this journey, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever realized too late that someone quietly cared for you, or have you been the one waiting for someone to finally notice your heart? Leave a meaningful comment below because your story may encourage someone in our community who feels invisible today. A year later, friends gathered beneath clear blue skies for a simple outdoor celebration. Everyone laughed when someone jokingly reminded Gavin to double-check that every webcam was turned off after future meetings. He laughed louder than anyone. Because he now understood that one forgotten webcam hadn't ruined two lives. It had rescued them from years of silence. Sometimes life doesn't need grand miracles. Sometimes it only takes one unexpected moment to reveal a truth that has been patiently waiting for years. Gavin often reflected on how close he had come to losing the greatest relationship of his life simply because he assumed love always announced itself loudly. Eliza taught him that the strongest love often whispers through loyalty, consistency, patience, forgiveness, and quiet sacrifice long before anyone says the words aloud. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Thank you for being part of our family and our community, where every story reminds us that kindness still matters, forgiveness still heals, and sometimes the love we've been searching for has been walking beside us all along.